something's resonating that looks like the older vampire and the maiden. You know, I don't know. I think it's such a long-winded and convoluted response to your question. What's my response to why he's popular? It mystifies me is the short answer to that, but I'm very flattered.
Do you know how many of the last batch of episodes you're actually in for the season? Are you in all of them?
I can't say.
Julie last week mentioned that there's going to be an upcoming flashback episode that takes place around 1912. Can you talk about what Elijah's doing that day?
No.
Is he eating Downtown Abbey or anything?
I can't talk about what he's doing. No. Sorry, I don't mean to be brutal.
That's okay.
I just can't. And truthfully, I get the scripts. It's no lie. We get it in the minutes before they happen. We sometimes know vaguely what's going to happen, like 2 or 3 weeks in advance. We get sort of told things, but I never sort of. I never take those on because they don't exist for much longer.
And Elijah does have an interesting sort of fragile alliance with the Salvatore brothers. Can you preview or discuss that, where that's headed?
Yeah, I love you. That's a lovely phrase. I'm going to steal that. The fragile alliance. That's so pretty. The thing about, I think he just hopes that Elena's safe at this point, and I think that he'll do anything he can to maintain that. And I think that he knows that nobody will do that better than those boys, even though they are knuckleheads.
We haven't really seen Elijah drink from anyone. He just rips out hearts. Why do you think that is? And are we
I don't know, and I'm eager to see why it's revealed. It was really cool, actually. This is a testament to how awesome Julie Plec is. A few weeks ago, I had a scene which I won't tell you which one it was, but there was a scene where Elijah was going to flare up and vamp up and the full thing. As soon as you get cast as any of these vampires, they fit you straight away with your things. And, so you're ready to go when they need you to be ready to go. And this is how cool Julie is. I called her and said, hey, or I wrote to her and said, hey, just so you know, there seems to be this sort of growing faction of fans who are fascinated by the fact that he hasn't fed and that we haven't seen him sort of vamp up. And I just want to offer to you as the storyteller, because it's your domain and not mine, like maybe you want to hold on to that mystery, maybe you want to keep that up your sleeve. And she hadn't really, because she's got a million things to think about, had kind of considered it, but hadn't really thought about it in a broader sense. And she was just awesome. She just said, yeah, actually, I do want to hang on to that. I want to hang on to that. So your guess is as good as mine at this point as to what it might be. I have an idea, and Julie has some ideas that she's discussed with me, but until they're set in stone, I can't say.
Where do you think it derives from that Elijah feels like he's the protector of his family? He's their biggest champion. He wants to kind of ascertain if there's any threat against them or even against Elena. He's like this self-appointed, I'm going to champion everyone kind of person.
That's such an interesting question. I mean, I think that, look, he's probably always felt like his brother was chosen, because of this sort of birthright thing and this hybrid aspect or whatever, this hybrid aspect of Klaus. And I think that when you have somebody near you that's sort of destined for something like that, I personally in my own life assume that role. I can understand his desire to be a servant at that point to something that's greater than him, because it's not his birthright, It comes from another time too. I think there must be a sense of him that feels like Klaus is chosen, or at least he felt that once upon a time. And maybe when he felt that Klaus could maintain some degree of nobility, he probably thought that they could do something incredible together. And yet saying that, and here I go wandering again, I don't think, Elijah's no innocent, he aspires to morality, but he's vicious, I think there was real power in making sure that his brother, making sure that his brother, the prophecy regarding him was sort of fulfilled. And I think that serving that is in his best interest, for all intents and purposes, they're these clandestine kings.
It's like a religious calling for him?
Yeah, I wonder what Elijah thinks of religions. I'm sure he's seen many rise and crumble during his time. I certainly think that it's his, it's a spiritual calling.
So, do you think we'll see kind of less of that code of honor throughout the season and more of that viciousness, or do you think Elijah will keep that code of honor that he has?
He's always going to try for this honor thing. I think that people were more interested in him when he was just a threat, to be honest with you. And Julie Plec probably disagree with me on that one. I think that the reason he was interesting when he first entered, and we've sort of maintained that a little bit, not so much anymore, but is that it felt like people were in trouble when he was around. And I liked that feeling. I liked that thing about Elijah. I liked that he was written a bit more brutal. I think that people like to tell themselves, oh, it's this nobility and stuff that makes us interested in him. And maybe it's the reason he was able to stick around, for sure. And so for that, in that sense, I'm not ungrateful at all. I do think, though, that he did represent threat. And I think that creates great drama, and people enjoy that. People really are like, okay, there's something that could tear the kingdom down.
Will Elijah still be so loyal to Elena once he finds out her role in his mother's plan?
I doubt it. But then again, he's able to forgive Klaus for some atrocities, and I think that if he thinks people are doing things in their best interest, then he's probably relatively forgiving. We just have to see.
What do you think Elijah wants? What's his ultimate desire in life at this point?
A family unity, yeah, and actually living in such a way that doesn't impede the existence of anybody else. I think that he wants certain basic things too. I think that he wants wealth and power, to be honest. But he wants his family to be functioning and discreetly in the world, however much they might be earning and doing.
It seems like he's really drawn to human women, and he doesn't seem to really care for vampire women. When Catherine was first turned, he seemed to lose complete interest in her.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a preference he carries?
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand that. It's a beautiful shooting star, like a life, in which most of us are just oblivious to anyway. I think that's the whole fascination with vampires at the core of it. People are fascinated by this immortality, and little girls especially love the immortality of pretty-looking men. But it's interesting though that not just little girls, but life being finite is special, and for whatever reason, like the curse of being a human being is that we are unable to see it. We don't appreciate it. We don't look at it. Very few men and women throughout history really kind of live in constant awareness that it's special, and the rest of us don't. I think that's kind of what our fascination with this is, and I can understand that somebody who has this deified quality is able to look at somebody who flickers through life and to be able to see them actually aspiring to something that it's probably taken him 100 lifetimes to not be able to master, and suddenly there's someone like Elena doing and saying things that most people never, people that he's seen live for 1,000 years can't achieve. I think that's really got to be really